Starting a new save is really exciting. Seeing that empty file screen on a game you've been waiting to get your hands on is so satisfying, and it gets you excited for your next adventure. God, they want me to name my save? This is too much pressure. What do I look like, a parent? It's just as fun when you revisit an old title you've played before. Even if you've beat the Great Deku Tree for the 10th time in your life and you're really hoping you'll play the game all the way through this time because you have the first 3 hours of it etched into the back of your skull. It seems as though I've suddenly remembered why I haven't finished this game. No matter what kind of game you're starting, we've all had to reassure the game that yes, we do in fact want to overwrite this empty save. Some games make a big deal out of the save file process, and some have the misfortune of ending up on the PS3. This screen is so lifeless. Modern consoles kind of streamline the whole save process, and I'm not complaining. Everything is so easy to access now, and having saves available through your accounts and following you to your devices is so convenient, and it works most of the time. There's just something about going back through old files and reminiscing about all that time I spent, especially when a game gives you a little glimpse of the progress you're making, like in the Zelda titles. They show you the hearts and items you've collected every time you boot it up, or how Skyrim gives you some brief stats and a still of the last thing you did before you saved. It's such a neat window into what's been going on in my game, and it always gets me excited to play again. And we can't forget about memory cards, swapping them out when one would start to run out of space, trying to remember which games were on which cards. I ended up getting rid of most of my old memory cards from when I was younger. I have never forgiven myself, but games didn't always have save features, and it wasn't until Nintendo did something about it that gaming studios thought to start implementing them in their own titles. Okay, picture this. Beating a game in one sitting. The horror. Taking a page from the arcade machine's book, a lot of NES games were ball-bustingly hard, and they would boot you all the way back to the beginning when you died. Yeah, that's when, not if. Games like Contra, Ghosts and Goblins, and Battletoads required nerves of steel to get through. Then Nintendo went ahead and said, video game who? And decided video games could be more than just some plumber jumping on turtles, even though they're the ones who made Super Mario Bros. They stuck some fucking batteries into a golden cartridge and blessed everyone with the ability to save their games. And the rest is history! No, but it actually made a lot of sense for them to make this move. Games were starting to get more complicated, and no, it's not because Zelda's an RPG. It's not. It wouldn't have made sense for something like the first Zelda to boot you back to the beginning if you died. Could you imagine though? That's true fear. After Zelda, saving your progress became the standard, and different developers would go on to implement it in different ways. Like the bonehead that decided password saves were a good idea. What am I looking at? Nobody wants to enter the coordinates to Battleship anytime they want to continue their progress. You know what? Let's just do a quick run through all the different ways that games allow you to save, because you don't really think about how different and varied they can be most of the time. There are 4 main categories of saving that almost every game can fall into. Manually saving, save points, progress-based saving, and auto-saving. We'll get to that. Manually saving is the most straightforward of all of them. You pause the game, you click save, you're done. Most often this is reserved for adventure games and RPGs that have big worlds for you to explore and take your time in, so they just hand you the steering wheel. You can choose when and where to save at your leisure. Metal Gear Solid has you radio one of your team members in-game, and sometimes you have conversations during the save, and I can't think of anything more video gamey than that. I think it makes good use of giving the save feature some in-game context. Some games like Persona only let you save during certain segments to throw some tension into the mix, and the Bethesda RPGs literally load you back into the exact second before you saved. So if you just want to go ahead and ruin somebody's day, well, I'm not gonna tell anyone. That's between you and your conscience. I tend to overdo it a bit in games with manual save features, so maybe I reloaded a file after botching a quest 10 times in a row. We've all done it. Who are you gonna tell, Steve Harvey? Next on the list is the save point, appearing as a physical object that you interact with within the game world. Save points are safe spots in a game that allow for a momentary pause in the action, along with that. A save point can take many forms. A bright, floating question mark, Not that one. An empty room with a lone typewriter, a capsule that restores your energy, a fucking toilet, or even an old sword thrusted down into the earth. God, that is so satisfying. Titles with save points almost always have some tension in one form or another because you're always on the lookout for one. Sometimes they'll throw you into a long stretch with no save points in sight, so you know that you're going to have to try your best to survive for a while. Games like Resident Evil really benefit from this because of the horror aspect, so it makes an already stressful situation all the more chilling. The older Resident Evil games go as far as only letting you save if you have an ink ribbon in your inventory. Ink ribbons are another one of the collectible items in the game, so you have to pick and choose when you want to save. I personally love the added stress that this brings, and the feeling of relief you get when you hear that classic typewriter tune. Indescribable. I love that Metroidvanias use save points because it turns a simple function that we've all come to expect from a game into an objective. Not only are you looking for your next ability that'll let you progress, but you're also searching for a way to save the game, kind of like Resident Evil. Whoa, wait. Are Resident Evil games really just horror-themed Metroidvanias? I mean, you open locked doors with keys that you find, you acquire new weapons and come back to areas you previously couldn't access. There's awesome boss fights. Guys, I solved gaming. Pack it up. No one has to ever play a video game again. Oh my god, I did it! Dead Rising uses toilets as its save point, so since it's set in a mall, if you just think about where a bathroom would be located, more often than not, you'll be able to find one. And we can't forget about Dark Souls. The bonfire system is so neat, serving as an all-in-one checkpoint, safe space, and a spot to level up your skills. Every bonfire is placed with such thought in the first game, and you get this sense of relief whenever you see one after a tough encounter. I don't know how I'm gonna top a bonfire. Alright, next on the list is progress-based saving. Yeah, I have nothing to say about this. You beat a level, and the game either saves for you or it asks you to save after finishing said level. Exciting! Whoa! Crash Bandicoot makes you manually save after each level at a save point, but it's a level-based game? Why? It feels weird. That just leaves us with auto-saving. Look, I'm not gonna complain about autosave features. We've pretty much figured out autosave at this point, and most games that have it use it pretty effectively. Doesn't mean that it's not lame though. I'm not even saying that games with autosave should switch over to one of the other forms of saving. Not every game needs save points. Uncharted's crazy set pieces and cinematic nature make total sense for the use of autosaving, and I would hate to stop the action every 5 seconds to make sure the game knows I got done climbing my 50,000th ledge. Most shooters and modern action games have autosaving and checkpoints for the sake of convenience. Crash has checkpoints and I love it. See, this is what I mean. Some games really are fine without fun saving options. I'm just a dumb baby who likes my flashy colors and typewriters for some reason. Although one instance where I do prefer autosave 500% of the time is in my editing software so that I don't have to re-edit the last hour of work over again with half the production value because the damn thing crashed and my brain is starting to melt and turn to goo from staring at a timeline that seemingly never ends. I love editing. I just like the fact that there's a whole bunch of different methods to saving games. All of these different options came to exist through the generations, and each game has its own way of storing your files. There's just so much variety. It can be an in-game mechanic, it can be a menu option, it can be the reason you decide to commit murder, or it can be something you completely forgot about while you sit back and enjoy the game. And once you're done playing the game, those files will be waiting there for you. I think the reason I enjoy going through old save files so much is because of my collector's mentality. I like to collect a lot of useless shit that requires the emptying of my wallet. I always prefer to get a game physically when I have the option. There's something about holding it, opening it, and putting it in the console. And I think that extends to my fascination with save files. It's like its own separate archive of the games I love to play, but with my actual account of all these stories and events. It's a pretty neat thing. I can look back at some of the dates on these files and I can remember exactly where I was in my life when I was playing these titles. Flipping back through these memories is something that I'm gonna hold near and dear to my heart for a long time. Until the PS2 decides to just not want to accept your memory card even though you know it was working a week ago. Piece of shit, PlayStation.